Hey there, welcome to Ask Ron. And before we begin, happy birthday to this little bum. 16 years old, this dog. In dog years, that's like 350 years, I believe, right? I'm holding her so she won't bark and ruin this. The question today I want to get to is, do the bodybuilders today rely more on drugs? Short answer, yes, they do. So this is something that's come up many times. Anytime I interview or talk to someone who had their heyday in the 90s, like Dorian or Kevin Levrone or Ronnie, and none of them are saying that drugs weren't used, but drugs really were, for many, many years, quote unquote, the finishing touch. People get so angry when that phrase gets thrown around because they think, well, if you use, these guys use tons and tons of steroids and other drugs, and not really. Not until the 90s did that trend really start. Up until then, drug use was pretty basic. It really was. I'm going to put the dog down. The guys back in the 70s, a little bit of D-ball, a little bit of Winstrol, a little bit of Deca, a little bit of Primobola maybe. Not much at all. I don't think many of them went up to over a gram a week. I've talked to them and some of them have divulged their cycles, and I can't print it because nobody will believe it. Anytime I have printed something like that, people say I call bullshit on this. The thing that disturbs me the most today is that when there are huge discussions going on or podcasts, or the majority of the questions from people aren't about training and nutrition, it's about drugs. They want to know which drugs they should be taking. What are the new hot drugs that I can try and get a hold of? What doses? How do I use it? When should I take it? And the implication there is that they have their training and nutrition completely figured out. All that is covered perfectly. Now they just need to get an extra edge with the drugs. But let me tell you, most of these people do not have their training down. They don't train very hard. They don't put a lot of thought into their training, why they're doing certain exercises, how they're performing the exercises, how they're arranging body parts, how they're arranging exercises within the workout, what techniques they'll use. They kind of wing it because they don't feel training is that important. As long as they get in there and do something, that's good enough. And nutrition, so many people today, they're caught up in this if it fits your macros type of mentality. They think as long as I eat the same amount of macros, it doesn't matter what I eat. And they like to eat garbage. And what I see with contest prep especially that disturbs me is a lot of people, they want cheat meals like all the time. So they're like, I don't want to do cardio. I don't want to eat clean. They're lazy, but they want to look like the finished product, like a contest ready bodybuilder, but they don't want to put the work in. They don't want to have to ever feel hungry. They don't want to be deprived of their favorite junk foods. They want to still eat things like pizza and cookies and bread and dairy, all that good stuff. And they don't want to get up at 5 or 6 in the morning and do fasted cardio. So they're like, what drugs can I take so I can get ripped without having to eat clean or do a cardio? And, I could say there's no drugs going to replace that. But a lot of them are into this DNP stuff, which is very, very dangerous. I don't want to hear from people say, oh, if you know what you're doing. And you know what? When you say something like that, that implies that a lot of people out there won't know what they're doing and they're going to do it anyway. So right there, that tells me there's a level of danger associated with this product, this substance, that it shouldn't be part of anybody's regimen as a bodybuilder. Because it can, if you take the wrong dose of it. And how many people using it can be 100% certain what they're getting is pure and it's dosed exactly the way it's presented on the label of their pills or whatever. Because a missed dose can kill you, and it has killed people. I'd rather diet. I've never touched DNP. When I compete again, if I compete again, I'll be 50 or over. Losing fat's going to be a bitch. You think I'm going to use DNP? Hell no. I'm not going to go near that shit. I don't care. I'm not going to touch it. I discourage all of you from using it. And I know there's going to be people, some gurus, coaches saying, oh, I know how to use it. I can tell people how to use it safely. Yeah, whatever. You know what? You're playing with people's health. You're playing with people's lives. So just people were getting in great shape and still get in great shape without DNP. There's no need for it. But like I said, so many of the questions and discussions now I see are all about drugs. They just want to know, what drugs can I take? And back in the old days, it was understood that if you wanted to be a top bodybuilder, you had to have gifted genetics. You had to be, you know, not one in a million, but you had to be exceptional. You had to be someone who stands out. And someone like that, they're going to stand out pretty quickly. Within a couple of years of training, they're going to develop in a way that other people just don't develop. There's a look to these people, the shape of the muscles, the structure of the bones. Everything comes together in a much more aesthetically pleasing look than what 98% of the rest of the 99% of the rest of the people who aspire to be bodybuilders are ever going to achieve. You have to have the gifted genetics. Then you train hard, eat right, get enough rest, add in a little bit of drugs. It doesn't take a lot of drugs for someone with those kind of genetics. It really doesn't. And boom, you have an amazing physique. Then you have people with average or below average genetics who don't want to work hard, don't want to eat right, go out and party instead of going to bed at 9's early. Go out and party instead of getting to bed at a reasonable hour and getting enough rest. But they still want that look. They still want to look like, I'd say, the guys in the magazines, but people don't really look at magazines that much anymore. They want to look like the pros and top amateurs, you know, those specimens of muscular perfection, muscular development. So they want to know, what drugs can I use to give me a shortcut to that? And that's the issue I have now. As far as the top guys, do the top guys now rely more on drugs? I'd say a lot of them must, because I don't see the same muscle quality anymore. I don't see the detail, the striations, the splits, the deep separation that if you look at lineups from the 90s, 80s and 90s, they all had that. They all did, down to a man. You didn't see spongy, puffy looking muscles, you know, bloated from synthol, bloated from insulin, because they didn't use those things. They relied on their training and a little bit of drugs to give them the look they wanted, instead of a lot of drugs and slacking in the training. You know, guys now, they, for the most part, they don't train as hard. Sure, there are still guys out there who train very hard. Absolutely there are. Never said there weren't. But I also see a lot of guys out there who are kind of slacking, kind of phoning it in their workouts. And you know, they're just expecting the drugs to do the work. I know I sound like a grouchy old guy. I am old, 49 years old. I am kind of grouchy at the way things have turned out with drugs and everything over the last 20 years. It's gotten worse and worse. We have an entire industry of coaching now that mainly exists for a lot of lazy people that want to hire a coach to tell them, what drugs can I take and can you help me get these drugs? I'm not saying this is all coaches. No. A lot of coaches, though. That's all they are, is guys to get you the drugs, tell you how to use the drugs. Diet, they'll just give you some cookie cutter diet. Training, they're like, just do whatever, it doesn't matter, because training's not that important to them. They have made their niche as drug advisors, drug suppliers and drug advisors. It's an entire industry now. That's where we are in 2018, heading in a couple months into 2019. Is it going to change? Well, you know, I do see writing on the wall. Classic Physique was a message sent that we didn't want to see guts anymore. We want to see more aesthetics, nicer shape, good condition, muscle detail, separation, striations, and even with the Mr. Olympia being chosen as Sean Roden. I don't know. It's going to take a couple more big shows to really see if a trend is developing, but I think we want to see, you know, more muscle quality, not so much muscle quantity. If it was all about muscle quantity, Big Ramy would have several Mr. Olympia titles right now, and he does not. So I'm keeping these short because you guys like shorter stuff, shorter videos. That's my little rant for today. Bodybuilders today do rely more on drugs. I wish it weren't the case. Don't have any real solution for it at the moment, but that was my 2 cents on the matter. You guys can comment below, and if this is on the Muscular Development No Bull Forum, let's have a discussion about it. I'm here for you. Talk to you guys later.